Peppa Pig and the Lucky Ducks.
Bonk, bonk.
Peppa and George have come to visit the ducks. They see one pond, but the ducks aren't home.
The ducks have gone on an adventure, George,
says Peppa.
They're so lucky,
says George. Peppa and George want to go on an adventure too. They want to find those lucky ducks.
Bonk.
Let's go,
says Peppa. On the way, Peppa and George jump in 2 muddy puddles. They see 3 birds, but no lucky ducks.
Oh no!
George points. There are 4 worms. Peppa sees 5 sunflowers. And look, there are 6 ladybugs on the leaves.
Wow!
Granny Pig loves her garden gnomes. Peppa counts 7. Granny Pig hasn't seen any ducks today. Grandpa Pig's garden has 8 heads of lettuce and 9 carrots.
Look, George,
says Peppa.
there are 10 snails.
Says George. There are 11 bees. Cheep, cheep. And 12 baby chicks. What's that scurrying around the 13 potted plants? 14 ants.
Have you seen any lucky ducks?
asked Peppa. Outside Granny Pig's chicken coop, 15 chickens are pecking in the soil. George wants to play frog. He jumps up and down. Peppa counts 16 frogs. George chases butterflies. He's not as fast as they are, and there are 17 of them. But he's faster than the 18 turtles resting in the shade. Mummy Pig loves flowers. There are 19 pretty ones here. Peppa turns around.
Bonk, bonk, bonk.
Ducks, there you are,
she says. Peppa and George count 20 lucky ducks. Peppa and George have had an adventure. They are lucky too. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa and her golden boots. It was the day of the big puddle jumping competition. Peppa and her friends were practicing jumping up and down in muddy puddles.
My daddy always wins,
boasted Peppa.
He said the first rule of puddle jumping is to wear your boots, and mine are very special because they are made of gold.
They are not gold, replied Susie Sheep.
They're yellow. They are not yellow, they're real plastic gold,
protested Peppa. Would anyone like some orange juice? Called Mummy Pig from the house. Yes, please, replied everyone. They ran inside, leaving their boots outside the front door. When Peppa and her friends had finished their juice, they headed outside to put on their boots.
Oh no, my boots have gone, sobbed Peppa.
Mr. Zebra arrived with the post. "I've just seen a duck with boots on," he said. Peppa sniffed.
Were they gold?
"No, yellow," he replied. Mrs. Duck came running down the hill wearing Peppa's golden boots. Peppa ran after her.
Mrs. Duck, can I please have my boots back, please?
But Mrs. Duck did not want to give Peppa's boots back. She didn't stop running until she reached Captain Dog's boat. No one could stop Mrs. Duck. She leapt into the water and swam away. Captain Dog started his engine. "I think my boat can go faster than that duck," he exclaimed. But Captain Dog's boat could not keep up with Mrs. Duck. That's a fast duck," he said. Mrs. Duck finally stopped at a little island where Grampy Rabbit had been shipwrecked when his boat capsized.
Mrs. Duck has my boots and she won't give them back, Peppa called.
"Don't worry, Peppa," replied Grampy Rabbit. "Mrs. Duck has nowhere to go." But then Mrs. Duck started flying and she was still wearing the boots.
Oh no, cried Peppa. Mrs. Duck is flying to the moon with my boots.
"Don't worry, Peppa," said Grampy Rabbit, pointing to the neighbouring island. "We'll take my rocket."
I really don't think Peppa's boots will be on the moon, said Mummy Pig.
"Nonsense," insisted Grampy Rabbit, helping everyone into the rocket. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! On the moon, Peppa and her friends searched everywhere for Mrs. Duck and the golden boots.
Let's ask at the shop, suggested Susie Sheep.
"You don't get shops on the moon," exclaimed Daddy Pig.
Postcards,
called Mrs. Rabbit from inside her gift shop.
ice cream, buckets and spades.
Meanwhile, Grandpa Pig had spotted Mrs. Duck in his garden.
Those aren't your boots, are they?
He asked. He quickly dialed Daddy Pig's number. "Oh, hello, Grandpa Pig," said Daddy Pig. "Yes, Peppa has lost some boots. We'll be right there." "Next stop, Grandpa Pig's garden," announced Grampy Pig. Peppa bounced excitedly out of the rocket.
My boots, my golden boots, she exclaimed. Thank you, Grandpa.
Grandpa Pig helped Peppa to put her boots on. "Now we can go to the puddle jumping competition," said Mummy Pig. "Oh, yes," agreed Daddy Pig. "We'd better hurry." The big puddle jumping competition was about to begin. "First up, Daddy Pig!" cried Mr. Potato. Daddy Pig took a giant leap and made a very big splash. Then it was Mr. Elephant's turn, and Mr. Elephant made an even bigger splash. "Mr. Elephant is the winner," announced Mr. Potato. Peppa cleared her throat.
Please, can I have a go too?
She asked. "Oh, of course," replied Mr. Potato.
And can all of my friends help?
Peppa added. Mr. Elephant was not pleased. Hang on, I don't think that's really... It sounds perfectly fair to me," interrupted Daddy Pig. Peppa and her friends formed a circle and held hands.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
they all chanted.
Jump! Whee!
Peppa and her friends made the biggest splash ever. "Peppa and her friends are the winners," declared Mr. Potato. "I still think," began Mr. Elephant. "Hooray!" Everyone cheered loudly. Peppa loved her golden boots. Everyone loved their boots, and everyone loved the big puddle jumping competition. The end. Peppa Pig, Flip Flap Peppa. Peppa loves dressing up.
Wow!
Who will she be today? Peppa is a daring explorer. She's hunting high and low. I'm ready for adventure. Looking for things to discover. Peppa is a grown-up lady. She's going out to the shops, smelling of Mummy Pig's perfume.
Wow!
Look at my lovely shoes. Peppa is a brave firefighter. She's ready for an emergency, wearing yellow waterproofs. Everything is under control. Peppa is a caring nurse. She's always ready to help with her first aid kit. I'll make you better, George. Peppa is a flying superhero. She's disguised in a shadowy mask, wearing a magic super cape. I will save the day. Peppa is a fairy tale princess. She lives in a royal palace with her little pet mouse. Let's ride in our carriage, Sir George. Peppa is a clever scientist. She wants to zoom into space in her powerful rocket. I love looking at the stars. Peppa is a hungry tiger. She's prowling through the jungle with her animal friends. Peppa is a seafaring pirate. She's about to sail the ocean blue, looking for some treasure. Ahoy there, me hearties! Peppa is a magic witch. She can fly through the starry skies on her magical broom. I'll turn you into a frog. The end. Peppa Pig, I can be anything. Peppa Pig loves to play dress up.
Wow!
She uses her imagination to become all kinds of different characters. Mummy and Daddy Pig always tell her she can be anything she wants to be when she grows up. Peppa likes to pretend to be many different things. In dance class, Peppa imagines she is a famous ballerina. On opening night, she wears her favourite tutu and jumps, dances and twirls across the stage. At breakfast time, Peppa imagines she is a chef. Sometimes when Daddy Pig cooks, he needs a little extra help. When Peppa visits Mummy Pig's volunteer firehouse, Peppa imagines she is a firefighter too.
Wow!
In the fire truck, it is Peppa's job to sound the siren as the firefighters rush to the rescue. Wee-oo, wee-oo. At the hospital, while visiting Pedro Pony, Peppa imagines she is a nurse. Open up and say ah, Nurse Peppa says. With Nurse Peppa, a speedy recovery is just around the corner. Hooray! At the playground, Peppa imagines she is a construction worker. She helps the construction team fill a hole with cement. She digs, moves, pours, and gets the job done right. When Peppa, George and their friends play make-believe, Peppa imagines she is an astronaut. Peppa and her space team travel to the moon in a rocket ship. 3, 2, 1, blast off! Peppa loves to imagine that she can be anything when she grows up. But for now, she likes to play pretend and have a new adventure every day. The end. Peppa Pig, Grampy Rabbit's Lighthouse. Peppa, George and Danny Dog are helping deliver supplies to Grandad Dog's friend, Grampy Rabbit.
Where does Grampy Rabbit live?
Asked Peppa.
Out at sea on a rock,
Says Grandad Dog.
On a rock?
Says Peppa.
Yes, in that lighthouse.
Says Danny.
Wow.
Oh,
Gasped Peppa and George. They land at the lighthouse.
Visitors! Exclaims Grampy Rabbit. I haven't had visitors in many a moon. I get lonely with just the sea and the sky for company.
how long have you been here?
Asked Peppa.
Since Tuesday,
Says Grampy Rabbit.
I've got tales to tell,
Says Grampy Rabbit.
if you'd like to hear. No thanks.
Says Grandad Dog quickly.
Yes, please.
Reply Peppa and Danny. Grampy Rabbit starts to sing.
I got up this morning. The sea was still there. So was the sky. The sea, the sky, the sea, the sky.
Peppa and Danny join in.
Why is your house called the Lighthouse?
Asked Peppa.
I'll show you.
Says Grampy Rabbit. They climb a staircase to the very top of the lighthouse.
It's called a lighthouse because it has this big light at the top,
Says Grampy Rabbit.
Wow.
It shines through the dark, helping sailors find their way.
Grampy Rabbit takes out a megaphone.
And when it's foggy, I use this foghorn. He says, Fog!
That's loud.
Cries Peppa.
No fog today, just sea and sky,
Says Grampy Rabbit sadly.
the stories I could tell. No thanks,
Says Grandad Dog.
we must be going.
Peppa, George, Danny and Grandad Dog set off for home. It is now very dark.
Don't worry,
Says Grandad Dog.
the light from Grampy Rabbit's lighthouse will show us the way home.
Grampy Rabbit is ready for bed, so he turns the light out. He also turns the big light out. Grandad Dog phones Grampy Rabbit.
Could you turn the big light on again?
He asks. The big light shines again.
Hooray!
Cry Peppa and Danny. It is getting foggy,
I can't see the light anymore.
says Peppa. Grandad Dog phones Grampy Rabbit.
It's us again,
He says.
Can you sound the foghorn, please?
Fog! Bellows Grampy Rabbit. Fog! Grampy Rabbit's voice is like a foghorn. Thanks to Grampy Rabbit, they arrived back safe on land. Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig, and Mrs. Dog are waiting to take them home.
We went to a lighthouse,
says Peppa excitedly.
Grampy Rabbit's lighthouse guided us home safely,
says Grandad Dog.
Grampy Rabbit sang a song. Would you like to hear it?
Asks Peppa.
No thanks,
says Grandad Dog.
Yes, please,
say the parents. Peppa and Danny sing.
I got up this morning, the sea was still there. So was the sky, the sea, the sky.
The end. Peppa Pig, I can be anything. Peppa Pig loves to play dress up.
Wow.
She uses her imagination to become all kinds of different characters. Mummy and Daddy Pig always tell her she can be anything she wants to be when she grows up. Peppa likes to pretend to be many different things. In dance class, Peppa imagines she is a famous ballerina. On opening night, she wears her favourite tutu and jumps, dances and twirls across the stage. At breakfast time, Peppa imagines she is a chef. Sometimes when Daddy Pig cooks, he needs a little extra help. When Peppa visits Mummy Pig's volunteer firehouse, Peppa imagines she is a firefighter too.
Wow.
In the fire truck, it is Peppa's job to sound the siren as the firefighters rush to the rescue. Wee-oo, wee-oo. At the hospital, while visiting Pedro Pony, Peppa imagines she is a nurse.
Open up and say ah,
Nurse Peppa says. With Nurse Peppa, a speedy recovery is just around the corner.
Hooray!
At the playground, Peppa imagines she is a construction worker. She helps the construction team fill a hole with cement. She digs, moves, pours, and gets the job done right. When Peppa, George and their friends play make-believe, Peppa imagines she is an astronaut. Peppa and her space team travel to the moon in a rocket ship. 3, 2, 1, blast off! Peppa loves to imagine that she can be anything when she grows up. But for now, she likes to play pretend and have a new adventure every day. The end. Peppa Pig, Grampy Rabbit's Lighthouse. Peppa, George and Danny Dog are helping deliver supplies to Grandad Dog's friend, Grampy Rabbit.
where does Grampy Rabbit live?
Asked Peppa.
Out at sea on a rock,
Says Grandad Dog.
On a rock?
Says Peppa.
Yes, in that lighthouse.
Says Danny.
Wow.
Oh,
Gasped Peppa and George. They land at the lighthouse.
Visitors! Exclaims Grampy Rabbit. I haven't had visitors in many a moon. I get lonely with just the sea and the sky for company.
how long have you been here?
Asked Peppa.
Since Tuesday,
Says Grampy Rabbit.
I've got tales to tell,
Says Grampy Rabbit.
if you'd like to hear. No thanks.
Says Grandad Dog quickly. Yes, please, reply Peppa and Danny. Grampy Rabbit starts to sing.
I got up this morning, the sea was still there, so was the sky, the sea, the sky, the sea, the sky.
Peppa and Danny join in.
Why is your house called the Lighthouse?
Asks Peppa.
I'll show you,
says Grampy Rabbit. They climb a staircase to the very top of the lighthouse.
It's called a lighthouse because it has this big light at the top,
Says Grampy Rabbit.
Wow.
It shines through the dark, helping sailors find their way.
Grampy Rabbit takes out a megaphone.
And when it's foggy, I use this foghorn. He says, Fog!
That's loud,
Cries Peppa.
No fog today, just sea and sky,
Says Grampy Rabbit sadly.
The stories I could tell. No thanks,
Says Grandad Dog.
we must be going.
Peppa George, Danny and Grandad Dog set off for home. It is now very dark.
Don't worry,
Says Grandad Dog.
the light from Grampy Rabbit's lighthouse will show us the way home.
Grampy Rabbit is ready for bed, so he turns the light out. He also turns the big light out. Grandad Dog phones Grampy Rabbit.
Could you turn the big light on again?
He asks. The big light shines again.
hooray!
Cry Peppa and Danny. It is getting foggy,
I can't see the light anymore.
says Peppa. Grandad Dog phones Grampy Rabbit.
It's us again,
He says,
can you sound the foghorn, please?
Fog! Bellows Grampy Rabbit. Fog! Grampy Rabbit's voice is like a foghorn. Thanks to Grampy Rabbit, they arrive back safe on land. Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig, and Mrs. Dog are waiting to take them home.
We went to a lighthouse.
Says Peppa excitedly.
Grampy Rabbit's lighthouse guided us home safely.
Says Grandad Dog.
Grampy Rabbit sang a song. Would you like to hear it?
Asks Peppa.
No thanks.
Says Grandad Dog. Yes, please, say the parents. Peppa and Danny sing.
I got up this morning. The sea was still there. So was the sky. The sea, the sky.
The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa loves our planet. It was Love Our Planet week at Playgroup. Peppa and her friends were very excited. Welcome, children, said Madame Gazelle, pointing to a picture of the world. This is Earth, the planet we live on. Wow, gasped the children. The little things we do to look after our planet can make a big difference, continued Madame Gazelle. Can anybody think of some things we can do to help?
Recycle.
Cried Peppa.
Use less water.
Said Pedro Pony.
Grow our own snacks.
Squeaked Rebecca Rabbit.
Walk, not drive.
Said Zoe Zebra.
Save electricity.
Barked Danny Dog, switching off the light. All excellent ideas, said Madame Gazelle. Well done, but let's turn the lights back on for now, Danny, so we can see.
Okay,
said Danny. Now, children, I'd like you each to make a Love Our Planet scrapbook at home, said Madame Gazelle. You can fill it with all the things you do to help look after our planet and then bring it in for show and tell.
Ooh!
Woohoo! Gasped Peppa and her friends excitedly. They loved making scrapbooks and they loved show and tell. At home time, Daddy Pig arrived with Peppa and George's scooters.
Can we scooter home every day, Daddy?
Asked Peppa.
It will be better for our planet if we don't use the car.
Great idea, Peppa, said Daddy Pig. I love scootering. Daddy Pig raced off and Peppa and George scootered after him.
Wait for us, Daddy,
cried Peppa. When they got home, Peppa and George helped Mummy and Daddy Pig with dinner.
If we put the peelings in the waste bin, Grandpa can use the compost for his garden, said Peppa. Then he can look after our planet too.
Lovely idea, Peppa, said Mummy Pig. We can take them to Grandpa tomorrow. The next day, Peppa and George scootered over to Granny and Grandpa Pig's house with the food waste bin. Thank you, Peppa, said Grandpa Pig, thrilled with his gift. Over time, these peelings will turn into compost, which will be very fantastic food for my plants and will help my garden grow very nicely.
And it will help look after our planet,
said Peppa. Then Grandpa Pig had a surprise. He gave Peppa and George a window box to take home. These flowers are very important, he explained. Bees and butterflies love them. We need insects to help plants make seeds.
Thank you, Grandpa,
cried Peppa, buzzing around and pretending to be a bee.
I'm a busy bee, looking after our planet. Buzz, buzz.
George giggled. When they arrived home from Granny and Grandpa Pig's house, Peppa and George watered their lovely new window box.
Look, George, cried Peppa. All these bees and butterflies have come to visit our new flowers. We're looking after our planet.
After lunch, it was time to pop to the shops.
Daddy, remember to bring some old shopping bags so we don't have to get new ones,
said Peppa. Great idea, Peppa, said Daddy Pig, picking up some shopping bags to reuse. Right, let's go. Just as they were leaving, George pointed to the light switch.
He wants to turn off the light to look after our planet,
explained Peppa. Thank you, George, said Mummy Pig. I'll do it for you. From now on, your job can be to remind us to turn off the lights. George grinned. He was very happy with his new job. That evening, Peppa and George tidied up and put everything into the right recycling bins. Let's sing the recycling song, said Peppa. Recycle, recycle, we're going to recycle tin cans, bottles, newspapers. Recycle, recycle, we're going to recycle. We'll take everything to Mr. Bull's recycling depot tomorrow, said Mummy Pig. But there's still one more thing left for us to do today. Our scrapbooks, cheered Peppa. Peppa and George used some of the cardboard from the recycling bin to make their Love Our Planet scrapbooks. Then they drew and stuck in pictures of all the different things they had done to help look after our planet. Wow, what lovely scrapbooks, said Daddy Pig.
They're recycled, Daddy,
said Peppa proudly. At bedtime, Daddy Pig was the last one to brush his teeth.
Make sure you turn off the tap while you're brushing, Daddy,
said Peppa. That way you won't waste any water.
thanks, Peppa, mumbled Daddy Pig through a mouthful of toothpaste. The next morning at playgroup, Peppa, George and their friends showed Madame Gazelle their Love Our Planet scrapbooks. "Fantastic work, children," said Madame Gazelle. "You found lots of ways to look after our planet. I hope you've all learned that when it comes to looking after our planet, every little thing makes a big difference," shouted Peppa and her friends, finishing Madame Gazelle's sentence for her. Peppa, George and their friends love our planet. Everyone loves our planet. The end.
Peppa Pig, Recycling Fun. Mr. Bull, the bin man, is collecting the rubbish. It is early in the morning, so he tries to be as quiet as he can. Crash, smash, splash! But Mr. Bull is not very good at being quiet. "Hello, Mr. Bull," snorts Daddy Pig, Peppa and George. "Hello, everyone," says Mr. Bull. Peppa and George are helping to clear up the breakfast things. "We don't put bottles in the rubbish bin. They can be recycled," says Mummy Pig. Soon they have collected enough things, so Peppa and her family set off for the recycle centre. Mummy Pig has the bottles and Peppa has the tin cans. George has the newspapers. "Is everybody ready?" asked Daddy Pig. "Yes," shout Peppa and George. Clink, clink, rattle, rattle, rustle, rustle. Soon they arrive at Miss Rabbit's recycle centre. Miss Rabbit is sitting up high, up inside a big crane. She is busy recycling all the rusty old cars. It is very noisy. "Who knows which bin the bottles go in?" asks Mummy Pig. "The green one," says Peppa. "That's right," snorts Daddy Pig. Clink, clink. "And the cans go in the blue one," says Peppa. "Well done, Peppa," says Mummy Pig. Rattle, rattle. Daddy Pig lifts George up so he can empty the newspapers into the red bin. Rustle, rustle. "Where's our car gone?" asks Daddy Pig. "Stand back!" shouts Miss Rabbit from up above them. Miss Rabbit is about to recycle Peppa's car. "Stop!" shouts Peppa. "Our car isn't old and rusty." "Ha ha, silly me," says Miss Rabbit. "I just love recycling." "So do we," laughs Peppa. "But we also love our little car." The end.
Peppa Pig and the Earth Day Adventure. It's Earth Day, and Peppa Pig and her family are ready to celebrate with a visit to the botanical gardens.
Wow!
Before they go, Peppa and George sort the recycling. Newspapers go in the red bin, cans go in the blue bin, and bottles go in the green bin.
Vegetable scraps and eggshells go into the compost bin, says Peppa. Grandpa Pig will use the compost in his garden.
Ew, says George. It's time to go, and Daddy Pig has a surprise. An electric car. This car runs on batteries instead of gas. That helps the air stay clean. The car even has a name. It is called Roger. This car can drive itself, says Daddy Pig. Peppa and George look out the window on the way to the botanical gardens. Look, says Peppa, a windmill. Ew, says George.
Mr. Bull built a windmill near my school, says Peppa. The wind turns the blades and they make electricity.
Whoosh, says George. At the botanical gardens, Peppa and her family meet Miss Rabbit. Welcome, she says. Would you like to see the wildflower garden?
Yes, please,
says Peppa.
Look at all the bees, says Mummy Pig.
The bees and flowers help each other. Miss Rabbit tells them,
The bees take pollen from one flower and move it to another one. That helps the flower make seeds which grow into new flowers.
Wow.
Peppa and her family visit the room with cacti and palm trees. Peppa sees a new plant.
What is that?
She says.
That's a Venus flytrap, Miss Rabbit says. It eats flies.
Peppa and George watch while the plant eats a fly.
Wow,
says Peppa.
jump,
says George. The next room is very wet.
This is a rainforest garden, says Miss Rabbit. These plants need lots of water.
Miss Rabbit flips a switch and turns on the rain. Next, they head outside to the children's garden, where they find something really special, a muddy puddle. Peppa's friends are visiting the botanical gardens today too.
Hello, Susie Sheep. Hello, Pedro Pony. Hello, Mandy Mouse,
she says. On the way home, Daddy has a rest while Roger drives the car.
Wow.
It's like magic,
says Peppa. Police officers, Panda and Squirrel stop Daddy Pig's car because Daddy Pig doesn't have his hands on the wheel. But it's okay, Roger is driving. Roger shows his driver's license to the officers. It's dark when the family returns home. It has been a great Earth Day.
Will you be all right out here, Roger?
asked Peppa. Oh, yes, says Roger.
Good night, Peppa. Good night, Roger,
says Peppa.
Happy Earth Day.
Hooray!
The end. Peppa and the Backyard Circus. Bang, bang, bang. It is a sunny day. Peppa and her friends are visiting Grandpa and Granny Pig. Grandpa Pig is using his hammer.
It's a circus tent,
says Peppa. Hooray! Everyone shouts.
Ooh,
Says Peppa.
can we see the circus, Grandpa Pig?
This isn't a circus tent, says Grandpa Pig.
It looks like a circus tent,
Says Peppa.
What is it?
It is for Granny Pig's garden party, he says.
Wow.
Peppa doesn't know what a garden party is. Grandpa Pig tells her it's a party where grown-ups stand around and talk. It doesn't sound like fun to Peppa. She has a better idea.
Let's put on our own show,
Says Peppa.
We'll call it Peppa's Circus.
Granny Pig thinks having the circus at her garden party is a very good idea.
Hooray!
Everyone wants to join the circus.
Wow.
Danny Dog wants to be the strong man. Emily Elephant
wants to be the juggler.
My father used to work in the circus,
Says Emily Elephant.
He did?
Asked Peppa.
What did he do?
Peppa knows that sometimes there are elephants in the circus.
He was the ticket taker.
Says Emily. Granny Pig brings the dress-up box. There are lots of fun things inside. Danny Dog finds polka dot shirts and a stick-on moustache.
My strongman suit,
he says. Peppa finds a hat. Pedro Pony finds a clown costume and a horn. Rebecca Rabbit does makeup.
Hold still, Pedro,
she says. Everyone is dressed and ready for the show.
Grandpa,
says Peppa.
I don't have anything to do.
Oh no!
Well, you can be the ringmaster,
he says.
What does the ringmaster do?
Asks Peppa.
The ringmaster is the boss,
says Grandpa Pig. Peppa likes that idea.
I will be the ringmaster boss,
she says. Good, says Grandpa. You can say, welcome to my circus. Come and see the amazing feats of Daring Do.
Wow.
Granny's guests start to arrive. Everyone crowds inside the striped tent.
Welcome to my circus,
Shouts Peppa.
come and see the amazing feat.
The circus begins.
Prepare to be scared.
Peppa says.
Is it a tiger?
Rebecca asks.
No, it's Candy Cat. Now watch the amazing cyclists. George, Richard and Edmund. Here is the strongman, Danny Dog.
Danny shows his muscles. He wants to show the crowd how strong he is. He lifts Peppa. Ooh, say the crowd.
Now please welcome Emily Elephant, who will juggle 2 potatoes and 1 egg.
Toss, drop, toss, drop, toss. When Pedro the Clown walks into the ring, everyone laughs. Spray! Everyone laughs again.
Splat! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and elephants, cats and ponies,
says Peppa.
thank you for coming to my circus.
The end. Peppa's gym class. Peppa and her friends are going to the gym today. Everybody has got their gym kit on, except Pedro. Pedro is wearing a superhero costume.
I thought he was dressing up day to day,
he says. Grampy Rabbit is the gym teacher. He swings down from the top of the climbing frame.
Wow.
Do we have to do that?
Gasps Emily Elephant. No, laughs Grampy Rabbit. That's only for big athletes like me. Let's warm up, shouts Grampy Rabbit. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Everybody reaches up to the ceiling. Now wobble like a jelly, says Grampy Rabbit. Everybody shakes like a jelly on a plate. Hee hee! it is time for the first adventure. I want you to pretend that this room is a jungle, whispers Grampy Rabbit.
But where are the trees?
asks Susie Sheep. You'll have to pretend, replies Grampy Rabbit. Now imagine a river, says Grampy Rabbit. Walk on this beam to get across it. Peppa and her friends tiptoe across the river. Well done, my little explorers, cheers Grampy Rabbit. Grampy Rabbit shows the children how to swing across a swamp full of crocodiles. That's what he did when he was in the jungle. I can't see any crocodiles, says Pedro.
You've got to pretend,
whispers Peppa.
What's our next adventure?
asks Danny Dog. Grampy Rabbit points to a funny table. This is a vault, he says. Pretend that it's a dinosaur and crawl through its legs. Peppa and her friends start crawling. Madame Gazelle comes back in. Did you have a good gym class, children? She asks.
Yes,
cries Peppa.
we made it through the jungle.
You are real little explorers now, laughs Grampy Rabbit. The end.
Peppa Pig and the Great Race. It's a beautiful sunny day, and Daddy Pig has something special planned for Mummy Pig, Peppa Pig, and George.
Hooray!
It's a surprise, says Daddy Pig, but we'll have to race to the fairground. We can't be late. Daddy Pig knows the fastest way to get there is by car. Everyone piles into the family car. Let's go, says Peppa. The car starts to drive, but then dunk, the car stops.
Oh no!
Oh no, says Mummy Pig. Something is wrong. We'll have to find another way to go. Let's ride our bikes, says Peppa. Everyone finds a helmet and gets on a bike. Let's go, says Daddy Pig. Biking uphill is hard and very slow. Peppa likes riding downhill. Whee! Look, there's Miss Rabbit in her fire engine, says Peppa. Can you help us? We're racing to get to the fairground. Sorry, Peppa, calls Miss Rabbit. We're on a turtle rescue mission. Mummy Pig sees something coming near. It's Grandpa Pig's train.
Hooray!
Grandpa Pig stops the train. All aboard, he calls. The train pulls into the station. This is as far as we can go, says Grandpa Pig. Daddy, how will we get to the fairground? asked Peppa. Daddy Pig looked around. A digger, an ambulance, the ice cream truck. Ugh, says George. Maybe we can take the bus, says Peppa. The bus is full.
Oh no!
Sorry, says Miss Rabbit. But you can borrow my plane. Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig,
Peppa and George climb into Miss Rabbit's plane.
Wow.
Away we go, shouts Peppa. Mummy Pig lands the plane at the airport.
Hooray!
How will we get to Daddy's surprise?
Asks Peppa. We'll have to run, says Daddy Pig. They run. And then Peppa sees it.
Wow.
Oh, Daddy, she says. A hot air balloon. Loon,
says George. It was a great race, and the balloon ride is the best surprise. The end. Peppa Pig and the Halloween costume. It's almost Halloween,
I love trick-or-treating,
says Peppa.
and jack-o'-lanterns. I love dressing up.
George loves Halloween too. Peppa is trying to decide what she wants to be,
I know.
says Peppa.
I will be a pirate. I will sail the high seas and hunt for buried treasure. But I'm going to be a pirate,
Says Danny Dog.
I even have an eye patch.
Wow.
Maybe I'll be a clown instead.
Says Peppa.
I will do a juggling act. I'm dressing up as a clown,
Said Pedro Pony.
I have big clown shoes and a funny red nose. Okay,
Says Peppa.
maybe I will be a nurse. I will make everyone feel better. But Peppa,
Says Susie Sheep.
I am dressing up as a nurse.
Peppa frowns.
Well then, I'll be a witch with a pointy black hat and a broom. Peppa,
Meow.
Says Candy Cat.
I already have my costume. Pointy black hat, broom. I'm a witch.
George has an idea for Peppa.
Dinosaur.
Peppa does not want to dress up as a dinosaur. Peppa thinks she'd like to be a brave space traveller. But that idea is taken. Oh no! She even considers dressing up as a vegetable,
Sorry.
says Rebecca Rabbit.
What can I be for Halloween?
Asks Peppa.
Maybe a brave cowboy, a happy tiger, a sparkly ballerina.
Peppa thinks and thinks. Then she has an idea.
I will be a brave, happy, sparkly fairy princess.
Hooray!
Peppa likes her wings, crown and wand, but her costume is not quite perfect. Peppa thinks that maybe there is something missing.
That's it.
Even fairy princesses need muddy paddle boots. Happy Halloween. The end. Peppa Pig and the Silly Sniffles. Peppa Pig and Susie Sheep are playing store. Susie Sheep stocks the shelves. Peppa takes the money.
This is a fun job,
Says Peppa. Danny Dog is their first customer. Hello, I'll have some cookies, please.
We don't have any cookies,
says Susie.
but we have a toy telephone.
Candy Cat is next.
May I have a loaf of bread, please?
Meow.
We don't have any bread,
Says Susie.
but here's a toy house.
More and more customers come in. Rebecca Rabbit buys a carrot. Zoe Zebra asks for apples, and Susie and Peppa sell her a toy truck.
Being a shopkeeper is hard work,
Says Peppa. Pedro Pony comes in next.
Achoo!
Pedro has the sniffles.
Oh no!
Poor Pedro. Peppa and Susie don't have anything in their shop for him.
Susie,
Says Peppa.
let's play a game. We can help Pedro feel better.
Hooray!
Peppa and Susie go to the dress-up boxes and change into their new outfits. Then Dr. Peppa and Nurse Susie go to work.
Let's have a look, Pedro.
Says Dr. Peppa. Peppa examines the patient.
Oh, this is serious.
She says.
What should we do?
Asks Nurse Susie. Peppa has an idea. She knows just what to do to make Pedro feel better.
Wow.
How's that, Pedro?
Asks Susie.
Don't worry, Pedro.
Says Peppa.
I have another idea.
Hooray!
Are you feeling better yet, Pedro?
Asks Susie.
Achoo! Achoo! Not yet. Achoo!
Oh no!
Okay, I have an extra special treatment,
Says Peppa.
Great idea, Peppa,
Says Susie.
You are a very good doctor. Achoo!
Peppa and Susie try again. They are giving Pedro a cast.
But Peppa,
Says Pedro.
I don't have a broken leg. I have the sniffles. Achoo!
But everyone wants to see and sign Pedro's cast. Candy Cat draws a flower. Danny Dog draws a parrot. Zoe Zebra draws Mr. Potato. And Dr. Pepper draws a muddy puddle.
Oh, I think I have the sniffles too,
Meow.
Says Candy Cat.
Can you help me, Dr. Pepper? Yes, me too,
Says Danny Dog.
I need a cast.
Everybody wants Dr. Pepper to help.
I still have the sniffles,
Says Pedro.
but I feel much better.
Thank you, Nurse Susie. Thank you, Dr. Pepper. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.
Peppa Pig, my mummy.
My name is Peppa, and this book is all about my mummy. She is the best mummy in the whole wide world, and the prettiest.
Wow.
My mummy is very graceful, like a ballerina. Except when it comes to picking blackberries. My mummy can be very serious. But sometimes she can be silly too. My mummy works very hard at home. And when she's outside, my mummy is very smart.
Wow.
She knows how to read maps and then make paper aeroplanes out of them. My mummy lets me and George pretend to be grown-ups. But she's always there to hug us if we are frightened. My mummy can do anything she puts her mind to. Especially if someone tells her she can't do it.
Oh no!
The very best thing about my mummy is how she always has time to jump in muddy puddles with us.
Peppa Pig and the Treasure Hunt. Peppa Pig and her little brother George are very excited. They are going to spend the day with Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig.
Hooray!
Off we go, says Daddy Pig.
Hello, Peppa. Hello, George, says Granny Pig.
Ahoy there, me hearties, says Grandpa.
We have a surprise for you.
Granny and Grandpa Pig say.
Wow.
Peppa and George love surprises.
It's a treasure hunt,
says Granny Pig.
Grandpa buried treasure somewhere in the yard. It's up to you two to find it.
Treasure! George wants to find it. Peppa wants to find it too. Peppa has never searched for treasure before.
How do we find it?
She asks.
Follow the map,
Says Granny.
Hooray!
Says Peppa. Grandpa Pig gives George the pirate hat.
Arr!
Says George. Something isn't quite right,
I don't understand the map.
says Peppa.
Can you help, Daddy?
Oh, yes, says Daddy Pig. I'm very good with maps. This map is difficult.
You're holding it upside down, says Granny Pig.
Whoops, says Daddy Pig. Everyone laughs.
I see,
Says Peppa.
it's easy. X marks the spot where the treasure is buried. It's right between two apple trees, but where are they? You have to find the clues, says Granny Pig. The first one is in a bottle.
Peppa and George search. They find a scarecrow. They find butterflies. They find frogs. George finds something else,
That's not treasure.
says Peppa.
I see it.
Cries Peppa. She and George rush down into the yard.
It's a message in a bottle.
Peppa hands a message to Mummy Pig to read.
Wow.
This pirate has very bad handwriting, says Mummy Pig. I can't make it out at all. Oh no! Nonsense, says Grandpa Pig. It says to find the arrows and follow them. Peppa and George follow the arrows to the treehouse, past the chicken coop, and behind the beehive. They follow them up, down and all around the yard. At the last arrow, Peppa sees something bright and shiny on the ground.
A key! I wonder what it will unlock,
says Peppa. Peppa looks up. She points.
An apple tree,
She says.
Hooray!
George points and Peppa says,
Another apple tree.
Hooray!
Daddy gets a shovel. He digs and digs and digs. Finally, the shovel hits something hard.
What is it?
Asks Peppa. Daddy reaches down into the hole.
A treasure chest,
Cries Peppa.
Ooh,
Says George. Peppa uses a key to unlock the chest. It is filled with shiny coins.
gold coins, says Peppa. We're rich.
Hooray!
Ooh,
Says George.
these are better than gold coins, says Grandpa Pig. These coins are made of chocolate.
Hooray!
Ooh,
Say Peppa and George. Says Peppa.
This is the best treasure ever.
The end. Peppa Pig Sports Day. Today is school sports day. Peppa and her friends are all here. First event is running. The children have to run as fast as they can. Ready, steady, go, says Madame Gazelle. Susie and Peppa are chatting about who can run the fastest. Rebecca Rabbit is in the lead. Peppa and Susie are right at the back. Rebecca Rabbit wins the race. Hooray! Everyone cheers. Peppa and Susie are last. It's not the winning that matters, Daddy Pig reminds him, but the taking part. The next event is the long jump, says Madame Gazelle. George and Richard Rabbit have to run and then jump as far as they can. Whoever jumps the furthest is the winner. Ready, steady, go! Oh dear, Richard Rabbit has jumped further than George. Hooray! Shout all his friends. George is not happy. Remember, George, says Peppa, it's not the winning that matters, but the taking part. The next race is the relay. Daddy Pig is in the lead. He hands the baton to Peppa. Thank you, Daddy. You did very well. Now it is my turn, begins Peppa. Stop talking and run, snorts Daddy Pig. Emily Elephant is the winner. Everyone cheers. Hooray! Peppa comes in last. She is not feeling happy. It is the last event of the day, the tug of war. Boys against girls. The girls will win, snorts Peppa. Oh, no, they won't, says Danny. Everyone is pulling so hard the rope breaks. The result is a draw. Both teams win, says Madame Gazelle. Everybody cheers. Hooray! I love school sports day, snorts Peppa, especially when I win a prize. The end. Peppa Pig, Super Peppa. It was all about me week at playgroup. Now, children, began Madame Gazelle, I'd like you to start by each drawing a picture of yourself. Ooh! Cried Peppa and her friends, grabbing the paints, crayons and glitter. When they'd finished, they put their pictures on the wall.
We look very important on the wall, said Peppa proudly.
You are very important, replied Madame Gazelle.
I'm a bit wonky,
said Susie Sheep, giggling. Next, Madame Gazelle asked the children to think about what they all like to do.
I like bouncing,
said Zoe Zebra, jumping up and down.
I like standing on one leg,
said Freddie Fox, trying to balance.
I like laughing,
said Candy Cat, rolling on the floor and giggling.
Meow.
Ow!
Ow.
I like howling really loudly,
howled Wendy Wolf.
Lovely,
said Madame Gazelle. You all like to do lots of different things. Now, think about what you are good at, said Madame Gazelle, and what you want to be when you grow up.
I'm good at being clever,
said Edmund Elephant.
I'm going to be an astronaut and an anthropologist.
I'm very good at being brave, said Danny Dog.
I'm going to be a champion skateboarder.
Whoosh!
I'm good at eating carrots,
cried Rebecca Rabbit.
I'm going to be a carrot.
Next week, I'd like you all to come dressed as what you want to be when you grow up, said Madame Gazelle. Peppa put up her hand.
But I don't know what I want to be, she sighed. How will I know what to dress up as?
Don't worry, Peppa, said Madame Gazelle. You can dress as anything you like, even a carrot. Everyone giggled.
But how do I choose?
asked Peppa. Why don't you talk to some grown-ups to see what they do? Suggested Madame Gazelle. They can help you decide.
Okay,
said Peppa. Just then, the doorbell rang and it was time to go home. Goodbye, everyone, said Madame Gazelle. See you next week.
Goodbye, Madame Gazelle,
called the children. The next day, Peppa asked Mummy Pig about her work. I write my stories on the computer, explained Mummy Pig. When I think of an idea, I go like this. Mummy Pig wrote an amazing story and read it to Peppa.
Wow, Mummy, I want to be a writer just like you, said Peppa. You write super stories.
You can be a writer, Peppa, said Mummy Pig. Why don't you try writing a story now?
But what if I can't think of a story?
asked Peppa. You have to believe you can, said Mummy Pig.
But what if people don't like it?
asked Peppa. You have to believe they will, said Mummy Pig.
Okay,
said Peppa. And she told Mummy Pig a wonderful story about a princess, a frog, and a little prince. What a super story, said Mummy Pig. You see, Peppa, when you believe you can do something, it helps you to do it. After lunch, Daddy Pig took Peppa to his muddy puddle jumping competition.
I hope you win, Daddy,
Peppa whispered. I might, replied Daddy Pig. I am a bit of an expert. Daddy Pig leapt high up into the air and landed with a perfect splash. He won the golden cup, and the crowd cheered, Hooray for Daddy Pig!
Wow, Daddy, I want to jump in competitions just like you, cried Peppa. You're a super muddy puddle jumper.
Why don't you try jumping now, Peppa, said Daddy Pig.
But I'm not an expert like you,
replied Peppa. You can be an expert, said Daddy Pig. You just have to practice. Daddy Pig helped Peppa practice jumping. Then Peppa leapt high up into the air and made an enormous splash. The crowd were covered in mud, and they cheered and cheered. Hooray for Peppa!
That was amazing. Thank you, Daddy, said Peppa.
Next, Peppa went to see Miss Rabbit. I hope you're ready for a busy day, Peppa, Miss Rabbit cried. Peppa followed her as she zoomed from one job to the next. They raced from the supermarket to the fire station, on to the museum, and then to the theatre. After that, Miss Rabbit took some visitors for a helicopter ride and sold everyone some yummy ice creams.
Wow, Miss Rabbit, I want to be just like you and do lots of things,
said Peppa, as Miss Rabbit drove everyone home on the train.
You're super at everything.
If you work hard, you can be good at anything, said Miss Rabbit.
Do I work hard?
asked Peppa. Yes, replied Miss Rabbit. You've been working hard with me all afternoon. You're super at everything, just like me. But when she got home, Peppa was confused. She still didn't know who to dress up as for playgroup.
Mommy, Daddy and Miss Rabbit are super at everything, George. And I want to be just like them, but how can I dress up as everything? Super potato!
Cheered George, soaring his toy through the air.
That's it, George!
cried Peppa, having a clever idea. She headed straight to her dressing up box. The next day at playgroup, all the children were dressed up. I see you've decided to be a superhero, Peppa, said Madame Gazelle.
I'm not a superhero, replied Peppa. I am super! Mommy, Daddy and Miss Rabbit said, if you believe in yourself, practice and work hard, you can be super at anything. And I do, so I'm Super Peppa.
Wonderful, Peppa, said Madame Gazelle. I mean, super!
Super Peppa!
Hooray!
Everyone cheered, racing over to the dressing up box. When they came back, they were all wearing super costumes, just like Peppa. Mammy Pig, Daddy Pig and Miss Rabbit had helped Peppa to be super. And now Peppa had helped everyone else to be super too. Super Peppa, super everyone! announced Madame Gazelle, swishing her cape from side to side. We are all super! The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.